Alright, this is a 9-foot Frankford umbrella. The crank cable was snapped. I guess it was just getting a little bit worn and weak, so it had snapped out. The crank cable mounts underneath the housing here, which to remove, you'll just go ahead and have to remove these few screws to get it out to go ahead and put in new. This cable now is too short, so we're going to remove the entire cable and replace it with the new cable. First things first, we're going to go ahead and remove the crank housing. Remove the crank housing. I try not to use electric drill gun because a lot of times they do like to strip out. It is plastic, not the screws, but the housing itself. So they're usually fairly easy to get out, but you're going to have a total of 6 to try to get out of here. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is part of the crankshaft. This here is your nut that holds on the outer part of the shaft that hooks to the crank handle itself. Now, this is a pin. A lot of different styles will have a similar nut and bolt, or they can have a cotter pin that goes through, or some people even just have it to where it's a wire, single wire that goes through that wraps around. Okay. So again, remove this small little nut. Okay. Set that there. Then you remove this. This will remove your crank shaft and handle. You have your washer. Okay. Now this is your interlock. As you can see how it is grooved, and it's grooved in here in the bowl. That allows it to where it does not spin or slip. So that'll keep it locked in place. Then you can go ahead and you can remove your handle, where as you can see, your crank cable is inside too. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of a little bit of a trick here. Okay. I'll go ahead and cut that. A lot of times what you can do, if the string inside, your crank cable inside is completely gone, you could usually run some sort of snake, whether it be a harder string that you could feed through the top over the pulley and inside, and it'll come back out, and then you can pull out through to get your new string. But to give you an idea to what size you need, exact size, this is the cable that we're going to use. You hold it up to the top part where your pulley's at. You bring it down to where your crank would go. Then you grab it one more time and you're doubling it up. So that's where you're going to want to cut it. Again, I'll show you real quick. We're just going to take it to where we take the top part. Just going to go right to the top. Hold it down to right where the crank handle would be. Grab it here. Pull it back up. And right to where your crank handle. That's what you need. You need that twice. So you'll have to run that distance twice. And that would be your exact size that you'll need for every time. Okay? So now, since this is up top, I have a little bit of the old cable sticking at the bottom. What I shall do is I'm going to tape it. I'll tape the two together. So all I have to do is pull on down here and it'll pull the new cable right through. And we'll be good. as you see, now we're in with our new cable. Okay? Now, a lot of times, if the cable does not come through off the top, you could always feed it back in and feed it back up, either which way. Now you want to make sure, you see how the pulley is more on the inside of the pole here? You want to make sure the pulley's sticking out. That's where your string's going to come from. You see how it's sticking out? It protrudes more here on this side. So that's where you're going to want your cable to run down your pole. So just watch that you don't pull too much. Okay. Okay. Feed it over here. And what's always really kind of recommended is, because you get the frays of the rope, just give it a little bit of a burn. Kind of melt it down. This is what I do. Kind of helps you out when you're going to stick it back in the crankshaft. Grab a napkin, rag, just kind of like get it to where it's in. And you can feed it in. And all you got to do is just tie it in a nice little knot. Make sure it's nice and tight. Feed in that side there. I'll usually grab it at the top. It'll help feed the slack in from the bottom. It's a little bit of a pain, but we can get it. It's not an issue. There's a little plastic bushing that's inside. It kind of gives you a little trouble, but you can manipulate it a little bit. It's not that bad of a situation. As you can see, it's starting to come through here. Give it a little bit of a twist. Come on. Okay. Alrighty, I think we are in. Okay, let me pull. Okay. I'm just doing that just to make sure that the cable and everything is in. There we go, all in. Okay. Okay. Now, go ahead and we'll get back this, which is your spacer / lock. And as you tighten it, you don't want to make it too tight, because then there's going to be a lot of resistance on the crank itself. So you want to kind of feel it as you tighten it down. I think that might be good. Put a little little nut and bolt back in. Okay. Now, this is where we're gonna have to take the bottom of the hub off so we can go ahead and tie the string in. Okay, and as you can see on the bottom of the hub, you have two sides. So if you ever need to replace ribs, you can take off both sides. But since we're not doing that, we're just working where the cable's gonna be. As you can see where it comes down from the pulley, you know which side you're gonna be at. So we're just gonna take off these two screws here. Okay, so we'll take these two screws out. Again, I prefer to use screwdrivers, hand screwdrivers, not really so much drill guns, because these are, a lot of them are plastic, and not the screw so much, but the hardware itself, and they can strip out. So I try not to do it that way. Okay, and as you see, here's the hole that we are going to, actually, let me give this one a little bit. I gotta kind of fray it down some, it's a little thick still. Okay, and you want to make sure that you have it to where everything's lined up. Even check your crank. Okay, so you know that you're even. See how it keeps pulling in, and I'm pulling it back out. That right there is to where now you're neutral. Okay, so what I'll go ahead and I'll do is give this our little tie. And inside, it's got just a little bit of a groove that will pull in. So when you put, when you go ahead and put the bottom of the hub back in, it will cover everything back up. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll cut this excess string. Okay. Okay. Okay, and then we got some nuts and bolts. Well, actually, let me go ahead before I do that, because there's these little nuts that go on top of the hub. So I have these here that got to go on top of the hub that screw into these two screws here. Let me put the side of the crank handle back on so I can open it up. Okay. Whoop. Okay. Okay. Put this one in here. Get this just open up just a tad bit. Okay. So now what I'll do is the nuts that you saw that go into the bottom hub, go ahead and stick those in there. This way you can see that. Okay. And put the next one in. They're little octagon, they're little hex screws that all the little nuts, they go ahead and they fit right in, so usually isn't any issue. Just give it a little hold. This will start the thread. Okay. Alrighty. Now we got the crank cable. We got the housing back on, bottom of the hub back on. Whoop, excuse me. And now, as you see, that's what you call a beautiful job. Every time. That's a beautiful thing right there. That's what I like to see. That's what I want to hear. Nice and quiet. There's not a lot of torque to where we have a lot of issues to where you're struggling to crank, because over cranking too much torque on the actual crank itself can cause the cable to start to snap. So you have to watch for that. That's why I say when you're setting your screw back on your crankshaft, you need to just kind of try to watch it, that give it a little turn, give it a little twist. If it feels too much tension, back the screw off a little bit. You don't want, not enough, but you want it to where it feels good, and this is perfect, perfect. So, as you see, we are rocking and rolling. And that there is a 9-foot Frankford umbrella cable replacement, and I hope you guys learned a lot from it.